The British government has expressed regret over the atrocities committed against the Mau Mau freedom fighters by the colonial government. There is a reason to smile. The money is not enough, they say, and does not begin to heal the pain they were subjected to, but the admission by the Briton is enough. The sorry uttered, a balm to their battered spirit, having fought so hard for Kenya's liberation. Looking back reveals a history in which compensation by the British to Kenyans wasn't the silver lining that victims had expected. Undetonated bombs left lying about by the British training troops in Samburu East and Laikipia North would explode, leaving a community bereaved and victims scarred for life. We visited Samburu and saw the devastation for ourselves. It is still evident all these years later. Because of their injuries and because the compensation given to some nearly set them on a path towards ruin. Hassan Sakalpo traveled down that road. His hand was blown off and his leg injured badly as he shepherded his flock on the plains of Sereolipia. Fellow herder and friend died on the spot. Hassan is said to have received 14 million shillings as compensation from the British. He alleges that an older relative of his took advantage of Hassan's semi-literacy and pocketed a huge sum for himself. Hassan's younger brother Yusuf Sakalpo claims that his brother has not been the same since and that he's constantly drunk. The haze of alcohol, perhaps, is to avoid the painful memories from that time. From the 14 million shillings awarded to Hassan, he doesn't have a single cent to show for it. Once a millionaire, the injuries that brought him money now are the reason that he has to depend on relatives for help.
Hakuna chochote yenye sasa yeye ako naye sasa tunasema ni hiyo pesa yake alishika. Alifanya kupata tu hiyo pesa. Sasa yeye akabaki hivyo hivyo sana lolote. Sasa ile mali sasa ako naye ni ile ya mzee tu, anakaa na mzee sasa. Mzee ndo anakaa na bibi yake, anakaa tu hapa sasa kurandarana kufanya kibarua.
But his physical injuries pale in comparison to the psychological demons he has to face. On the flip side, Singida Kukuton from Merile seems to have done well for himself. He received 850,000 shillings for the death of his 12-year-old son. The late Ilnguris Kukuton, who died from a blast while herding in Larisoro at Archer's Post in Samburu.
Watoto wanaenda kushunga, wanachukua hiyo kitu, wanapiga naye mawe. Hawajui ni nini, wanataka kutengeza rungu ile ya kienyeji. Sasa hawajui kama ni bomu. Sasa hiyo ndio kitu ilifanya hawa pigwe na hiyo kitu. Na hao kwa anajua kama inamagwa bomu iko kwa misitu.
He built a house for himself, a unique break from the landscape dotted with manyatas.
Hii nyumba unaona nikajenga na shilingi 1450. Nilikuwa na watoto wa shule. Sikuwa na pesa hata kupeleka mtoto shule, lakini sasa hii kijana yangu yule alikuwa na shota mbuzi, ako form 4. Kijana mwingine akasini ya dada yangu, nikasomesha yeye kompyuta, akamaliza form 6. Sasa yeye ni meja jeshi. Ile pesa nyingine kidogo ilibaki nikanunua mbuzi. Ile mbuzi mliona. Ndio.
has an impressive herd of goats that we found him with at the Merile watering hole. With part of the money, he boosted his herd. But Singida is still a bitter man. Nothing can compensate his son's death.
Tunalaumu ile watu walilete hiyo kitu. Hata kama walipatiwa nafasi ya kuja kufanya practice, wangehakikisha hakuna kitu ingebaki nje. Kwa hivyo wao walifanya makosa kuja kupiga na kuacha hiyo items ikiwa huko. Na hiyo watu normal hawajui chochote. Chuma yote akirokota wanataka kutumia kama rungu ama wana melt, wanatengeneza rungu ya kienyeji.
The money won't bring his son back, but like the Mau Mau, the British admission of guilt does help with the pain. Sami Lengunana received 1.2 million Kenya shillings. He received serious injuries to his abdomen and has been forced to live without a spleen. With the money he received from the British government, Lengunana was able to put up this workshop and explains what he did with the rest.
1.2 million Kenya shillings. Yes. Yeah, I construct the house and then I managed to pay for myself some livestock and my place to sleep at my village there.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces, bright and early for the daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere. Their tears are filling up their glasses, no expression, no expression. Hide my head, I wanna drown my sorrow. No tomorrow, no tomorrow.
I got touched because my brother fingers got blown off when he was about 8 years. So my elder sister had to get out of school to take care of him. That thing has always remained in my heart, in my mind. I know Honorable Eshore, who is in the Senate. I know Honorable Timalo. I know Justice Lenaola. And also somebody like Governor of Isiolo, Gordana Doyo, has been to this. I only came in to add my skill in advocacy.
Johnson Mali Olekaunga, the executive director of Impact, who was instrumental in this case alongside Martin Leide, who represented the claimants, said the British government in paying the money had accepted liability.
Nothing can replace, for instance, your hand. You cannot attach it to some figure. You cannot. But at least to me, I think, based on evaluation through medical examinations, and through kind of trauma examination by doctors, to me, I think it was fair.
The fight was not without its challenges.
We live in a place where there's no, people are less educated. They don't record what happens. What we find are very few cases of documented through the police, because successfully, I think the police, the pastoralists are not very friendly with the police, so they don't report. That's what the first challenge, They identifying the evidence. Secondly, we are dealing with a government that is very rigid then. So it was very difficult to get information from the government. And the other thing is we lacked political goodwill.
And according to Kaunga, it's unlikely that the end of legal suits filed against foreign governments will end soon.
There are a number of cases that are, and I think it's not about the gravy train. It's about people knowing their rights and the money going for them. So the thing is, whatever you did in 100 years, people are right now there. And it's you who taught us about democracy. African society have always been democratic, but you taught us a better democracy, which is you have to restitution.
But on the flip side, the British Army based in Nanyuki that has been training in 3 counties like Laikipia, Isiolo and Samburu has been trying to foster cohesion between the army and the locals. Through matches and games, it is apparent that the Britons are trying to show up goodwill.
We had 2 football matches. We were beaten 1-0. Our men's team has been 1-0 by the local Kipsing team, but I'm very pleased to say that our ladies team beat Kipsing ladies 1-0. So honours were even between the British Army and the local Kipsing football teams.
As you know, we have a large number of troops in the Isiolo region. The Army, the Air Force is here for a long time, traditionally. And so the communities here have lived with the military for a long time. We like to give back to the community. It's a traditional training area for us and for also the British Army.
In an earlier visit to Kipsing in Isiolo, the British ambassador to Kenya, Christian Turner, said that Britain has been working in sync with the Kenyan government on matters, security, infrastructure and other sectors.
There is a financial benefit to the community. About 1.7 billion Kenyan shillings is spent on infrastructure in this part of the country by the British forces, and the costs which we contribute to the local economy is about 3.3 billion Kenyan shillings.
Adding that the British Army has been working closely with the Kenya Defence Force.
We have historically been training about 1,000 Kenyan infantry a year. So since 2008, we have trained perhaps half of the Kenyan infantry, which I hope has contributed to their success, their remarkable success in Somalia, trying to stabilize Somalia, which of course is a shared objective. So partnership is the word that sits throughout those examples.
However, Ole Kaunga feels that the Kenyan government should express more interest in its people, as it is the rights of Kenyans that have been abused by foreign governments. Human rights lawyers from UK-based Lay, Day and Company conducted a fact-finding mission in Laikipia and Samburu. They met over 200 victims of the bomb blasts. 70% of the victims allegedly lost their lives, 50% in Samburu and 20% in Laikipia. Many feel that their rights enshrined within international law and human rights were violated, as many of the Laikipia, Maasai and Samburu pastoralists have been suffering in silence.
People already the people paid were close to 2,000, but it does not mean that those are the people who are affected. There are so many. Right now, I understand through connection through Matching Day, there's a third tranche. Already they have 28 persons who are putting in a claim with very clear and very strong evidence for a claim. But that's a claim is not the way it is good, but it does not eliminate a problem.
Kwetu tuko na vijana kama 2 walipata 14 million. Wakanunua magari, wakachesa na ile pesa, wakajenga manyumba. Sasa wengine hapa iko hai. Wengine walikufa walichesa ile pesa. Lakini sasa vile tulikuwa tumeelezwa, tulifanya vizuri kwa sababu ile watu walikuwa wanapatia hizo pesa walieleza sisi. Ni pesa wakati unapata, lazima ufikirie kitu una ndio ufanye, ndio ikusaidie. Usije ukapata pesa alafu uende ukacheze ile kitu uwezi, biashara uwezi, usifanye.
Now that many are coming out to seek justice for atrocities committed against them by foreign governments, it is clear that there is need for proper financial management skills for the many victims who are laying stake. The Mau Mau freedom fighters have a few lessons to learn in knowing that the money they will receive is not endless, nor can it fill the void or compensate in full the injustices perpetrated against them.
I'm very proud of them, and I think the only thing I can tell them, money should not be a break point. I think Mau Mau can transform to a social movement to bring Kenyans to sense. They fought beyond tribes to bring Kenya to independence. Right now we are free, but we are prisoners of tribalism.
It's a very exciting moment for Kenya. There is a very strong sense of a new chapter for the country. And the message actually is the same one that I'm talking about here in terms of the work of the British Army and this medical team. It's partnership. The ties between our two countries are strong, they are deep, they are historic. They cover great areas of our life. They are about security, yes. They are about development assistance. They're about tourists. We have 200,000 visitors going to each other's country country every year, that deep history. They're about regional security. We are just talking here about some of the work of the Kenyan infantry, the KDF, in Somalia. Of course, Britain was the first country to support Operation Linda Nchi, and the exercise which this is part of is part of that wider military relationship.